They're rats. Furry, some might even say cute, one of 4,000 different types of rodents in the world. Rats have been on the big screen, been blamed for the Black Plague. Some rats need humans to survive. Trouble is, we don't need them.
They do a tremendous amount of property damage. So you may hear something that sounds like a scratching or a clawing sound in the wall or up in the attic.
I don't think anybody that I know wants it on their epitaph killed by a rat.
Hello, I'm Michael Russo. It seems like rats have been around forever. I mean, even the old Chinese calendar has a year of the rat. But that's about the only celebrating most people ever want to do with these rodents. Sure, they can look kind of cute sometimes, but they're also dirty, disgusting, and downright dangerous. They're things you don't want to have crawling around your home. This video will show you what you can do to help keep rats out, and also what the County of San Diego can do to help. Rat biology may not be your cup of tea, but for the county's Michael Johnson, he's in his element.
A native rat, which we call more commonly the pack rat or the wood rat, which is this one right here.
This guy is usually okay, shy, more likely to stay in a field somewhere.
He's not really what you would call an indoor pest, he's more of an outdoor pest. You'll find him in fields, maybe in orchards, things of that nature.
Our native rat, not such a big deal. These guys are a big deal. The Norway rat, commonly called the sewer rat, and especially this one, the roof rat.
Roof rats, which are the imported rat, you'll find him going up in the trees looking for food, looking for shelter. Also, you'll find them crawling up into buildings. It's a much more commensal parasite. It's much more used to living with people. So it comes into our homes, if it can.
Rats and mice are not the same. Rats are bigger. The roof rat also has a very long tail, usually as long as the rat's head and body combined. Both rats and mice are nocturnal. They both build nests, but they behave differently.
Mice will stay near a food source, usually within 15 to 20 feet of it. So if mice get into the kitchen, they find food, they're going to stay somewhere in that kitchen. They may go behind your appliances, they may find a little spot underneath the cabinets, but they'll stay relatively within that area. A roof rat, the way he behaves is he still likes to climb. He thinks he's climbing something. So he may crawl literally into the crawl space under a house first, work his way up the side of a wall and come out and live in the attic, but then he'll come out and go back to where his food source is. That could be anywhere from, say, 100 to maybe 300 feet away. So it's a difference that the roof rat is a traveler. He will be much more willing to go literally all over a house looking for food, looking for shelter. He's not going to just stay in one spot.
And the best way to figure out if there's a rodent in the house? Look for droppings.
If you find very small droppings, approximately 1/8 to maybe 1/4 inch long, kind of look like a piece of burnt rice, that's typically your average mouse dropping. Now a much larger dropping, 1/2 inch long, usually pointed ends, sometimes bent in the middle, that will be your typical roof rat dropping. So that gives you an idea of what animal got into your home.
But if you don't see droppings right away, use your ears.
You may hear a gnawing or a chewing sound, especially with the rat, because he will be chewing on things to keep his teeth worn down because his teeth constantly are growing. So you may hear something that sounds like a scratching or a clawing sound in the wall or up in the attic. In fact, a lot of calls that I personally receive are people saying they're hearing loud noises in their attic because the rat is crawling underneath the insulation. He's bouncing around on the wood.
After that, it's time to bounce them out of your home or business. Okay, we know what a rat is, we know they're bad, we know they can carry disease and do a lot of damage. But if you don't see them or you don't hear them around your home, how do you know you actually have them? Well, this is where the County of San Diego can really help. On a sunny day in Vista, the rat man cometh.
Rats are a creature of habit.
When it comes to rats, Chris Rhodeos says the cats meow.
I think this is a rat killer right here. Normally they're within 50 feet of food, water, and shelter.
And it doesn't matter where you live or what your home looks like.
We go into places like Fairbanks Ranch, La Jolla, Del Mar. There's an abundance of rats. Rats are due to food availability and shelter. This house is not really trashy. It's very well maintained, basically, except for the openings that are allowing the rats to get inside.
The openings, Chris's specialty, helping you find where rats are setting up shop. And he does that with a simple walk around the home.
What I'm doing is evaluating the house to find the structural deficiencies so that they can be sealed so it's easier to catch the rats. In order to solve the problem, you have to seal the openings and then trap only what's inside, because then no more can get inside. All 6 of these screens are intact. They don't need to be repaired. The rats can't get in these.
But the news is not good elsewhere at this one-story stucco house. Very typical. Things get overlooked by residents, but rarely overlooked by Chris. Pull back a juniper next to the garage.
You see the grease marks on the wall? That's a rat going right up the wall. And it looks like he's eaten not only the molding, but some of the glass to gain entry to the garage.
Then Chris takes a few steps back to get a better look at the roof.
The next thing I would look at would be the roof overlap. And the roof overlap is right there.
He uses a small telescoping mirror to get a better view using reflected sunlight.
And you see how there's a dark mark there? That's the body of the rat, just like it is on the window, going in around that flashing.
That brown mark or grease mark happens because rats don't usually clean themselves like a cat or dog would. Their fur rubs up against the surface and makes a mark. On the garage door, another hole.
He needs only the circumference of a quarter. The only bones for say are in his skull. The rest is like cartilage, so once he gets his head through, the body just follows. This opening is big enough for him to get in.
And keeping rats from getting in is the key. That's called exclusion.
If you don't find out how they're getting in and you eliminate what's there, any new ones coming to the area pick up the urine scent, and this is how they reinfest, especially if you don't do exclusion. That's the most important thing about rats, is to seal the openings as how they're getting in the house.
More on exclusion later. On to the backyard. Think about food sources, things like pet food outdoors, not stored in a sealed container. And on this patio, the homeowner puts out bird seed. Trouble is, birds have company at this dinner table.
90% of the people that I go to that feed birds attract rats, especially in this manner. But even in a bird feeder, because the birds kick so much out, the rat doesn't have to come into the bird feeder, all the seeds on the ground.
But even off the ground like this is bad, because rats can jump 3 feet straight up and 4 feet horizontally.
It's not hard for him to jump from the ground into the bird seed.
And once Mr. Rat has had his fill, he can easily go back inside the house. From the top,
He doesn't need the tree. He comes over here and has lunch, goes right up the stick. And I would venture to say that the roof overlap here is open. And there's one right there.
or from below, an open vent into a crawl space under the house.
To the rat, a hippopotamus could get through there.
And rats breed like, well, rats. One time the property owner caught 46 rats on the patio alone.
Now I'm looking at the rest of the house as to the sub vents and also the vents underneath the eaves.
These vents look good, no openings. Then a check of the crawl space, which looks intact.
It is intact. So this is not a point of entry. So it seems like the points of entry are on the patio and the front side of the house.
Chris Rhodeos started in private industry and then came to the county. In all, 40 years experience. What does all this cost you, the homeowner? Just a very small fee added to your property taxes. Now it's onto a backyard woodpile.
This wood pile is fine because although it's not elevated 1.5 feet off the ground like the codes say, there's daylight on both ends. Rats want total darkness. This does not provide total darkness.
But sometimes plants can. Trim back dense hedges or ivies and tree limbs so they don't hang over your house. If fruit falls off your tree, that can attract rats. Even this old palm tree can be full of them.
The reason I know there's rats in the tree, or at least have been, because there are some rat feces in it. These are old, but because they're old, means at one time there was rats in it.
Up in the dense part of the tree, it can be very dark, perfect for rats. Then there's the old wooden shed in the corner of the yard. One time the homeowner covered up a hole but left others. Result? Infestation.
But you can see grease marks right here and the rat is going in. He probably made this bigger. Looking at it from this angle, I can see indentation of the incisor teeth.
There is another, albeit small, opening at the base of the shed. Once you open the door, you can pretty much guess what it looks and smells like inside.
But this place has really been inhabited by rats. The grease marks right here are very, very black. It smells. You can smell the urine and the feces.
Then an example of what is not a rat haven, a pile of yard cuttings stacked on the lawn.
This, somebody would think, would be a harborage for rats, but it's in the wide open. It does not provide the security that a rat would want as far as a home. Any predator could dismantle these twigs and get to the rat. The rat wouldn't live here. So this is not really a harborage point.
In all, about a half dozen places that need to be fixed at this house. That doesn't sound too bad, but it takes only one open vent, one quarter-sized hole in the garage to start an infestation.
The main thing is on your property is finding the openings. Look at your yard as far as food sources. Eliminate as much harborage as possible, like wood piles, vegetation that produces total darkness, like ivy or bougainvillea or hibiscus or even juniper, like in this front of this house. It gets so thick they feel like they're invincible. They can live right there.
The County of San Diego is not an exterminator. People like Chris simply give advice to anyone willing to listen, willing to rid their realm of rodents. Well, now you know what to look for. Let's say that you're absolutely sure rats are rummaging around your home. What do? Well, remember, the County of San Diego is not an exterminator, but we can offer you a lot of advice to help you become one. A sunny Monday at a Hidden Meadows home north of Escondido. Inside, nice big kitchen, big bathrooms, but something's wrong. Up in the attic, we're not alone. Rats are lurking somewhere in the darkness, and that's a big problem. Just ask the county's Ken Wilson, who'll show you how to set traps.
Rats in the attic is pretty dangerous for you. There are lots of wires up here. There's lots of conduit for your air conditioner and your heater. You want to make sure that you get them out of the attic as soon as possible. They can chew all the wires in your attic, start fires. They can also get inside of your heating system and damage that, get in your air conditioning vents and your heating vents and urinate and drop their feces and cause a tremendous odor and possibly even disease to you. I've seen so many rats in attics that you have to set 20 to 30 traps and come back 3 or 4 times and set them again and catch rats. One rat can possibly put maybe 10 to 20 droppings down in your attic. So looking at this attic, I will say maybe 3 to 4 rats are in here.
Ken Wilson has been doing this for many years. He tries to help us knock out critters we'd rather not deal with.
Mosquitoes, rats, flies, anything that's a vector.
And when you're vexed with vectors, the county can help with advice.
They need to exclude the rat from the house and then set the traps and monitor to make sure that they've gotten all of the rats out.
The right way to start is to think like a rat and walk around your home. Ken demonstrates.
Okay, looking inside of the home, I want to check for any areas where rats may be able to hide. I'll look in the closets, look for any droppings, look for any structural openings around the edges or up above. Look around any refrigerators to make sure that there's no evidence of droppings behind the refrigerator. Also, in the kitchen, I want to make sure there are no openings in the cabinets or underneath the sink, anything that may attract the rats on the counters of the sink.
And once you're in the kitchen, check cabinets from below and look above, especially near microwave ovens or vents where rats can come down from the attic. And don't forget light fixtures. Look for any rat evidence, especially in large fluorescent lights in the ceiling. Remember, rats don't have control of bowel or bladder, so you could see droppings anywhere. Anywhere a rat might scamper, like under a kitchen sink. Time to set traps.
The rats have come down from the attic into the wall voids and underneath the sink, and they hide underneath the dishwasher. But we don't want to move the dishwasher out of the way, so what we do is set traps underneath the sink.
Grab a trap and work carefully.
You want to work from the back end of the trap by pulling the snap back to the back end of the trap with your thumb, setting the trap by putting the lever underneath the little hook space that's set for the trap. You check to see if it's set, put your thumb over below the end of the corner of this trap here and let go.
A trap with a yellow pad works the same way. The lever hooks on and it's done. Always try to set the trap perpendicular to the wall. That way, when a rat runs along the baseboard, it's more likely to set off the trap. If setting multiple traps, set them at least 6 inches apart so the vibration when one snaps won't set off the other. And use about a 3-foot string to tie down the trap so it can't be moved by an injured rat, which might drag it and die down inside a wall. Then there's bait, bacon cheddar, peanut butter, dog kibble, anything that'll last 3 or 4 months. And you can pre-bait the trap for a few days so the rat gets used to taking food from it before you actually set it. Don't use fruit, it dries out too quickly. And speaking of fruit, this nice fruit bowl here is a no-no when you're trapping.
When you're setting traps inside of your home, you want to make sure there are no food sources around to interfere with the traps. So one example is the fruit bowl and the bread here. You want to remove it and replace it in the refrigerator so that it's not something the rats will get to and not go to your trap.
Finish with the kitchen. Ken starts heading elsewhere in the house. In the living room, check around the TV. Look for droppings or any chewed openings in cabinets. Also, a favorite spot is under the sofa. Check under there. Keep going.
Then I come and check the bedroom out to make sure there aren't any droppings in the closets, anywhere behind the dresser. Check the closet here just to make sure there aren't any droppings there. Also, I'll take a look inside of the bathroom area just to make sure they haven't found their way from the attic down into the bathroom.
Remember, the way to control rats involves 3 things: exclude, trap, monitor. Exclusion means doing things to keep them out permanently. Trapping is obvious. And monitor means to keep an eye out to make sure they don't return. And do it in that order. For example, trapping won't work if you've done nothing to keep the rats from coming in.
You could be setting traps forever if you do it that way.
And outside this home, you find Chris Rhodeos at it.
They can get up underneath here. So if you got some 1/4-inch mesh and went around the outside of it, you could prevent them from getting down inside.
Chris surveys the scene, looking for any kind of openings a rat can use to get inside where it's safe and dark. He uses his mirror to reflect light in places like under those eaves, and it doesn't take long.
Looking up underneath the eaves, I'm finding 2 vents that are broken, and this one over here is non-existent. The reason we really emphasize that these really be rescreened, because of the rough texture on this stucco, the rat is capable of going right up the stucco and into the eaves. So if these are screened off, then the rat can't get up into your attic.
And that 1/4-inch screen mesh is cheap, and you can find it at almost any hardware store. Not far away, Chris finds an exterior closet area. His mirror shows a major gap under the door. Rats get in and climb up the equipment and into the attic.
The easiest way to solve this, instead of trying to go into this closet and plugging up every little bitty hole up here, which is almost impossible because of the plumbing, is to set some traps down here on the bottom. What you need to do is fix the bottom of the door so that they can't get out, and you confine them to in here. If you put a metal strip within 1/8 inch of the ground on the inside, he can't get out. So what he'll be forced to do is to go to the traps for some kind of nourishment.
At this house, a few days later, the resident did exclusion. Rats were trapped, no more problem. You never want to use poison bait on the inside of your home because the rat could die in the walls. But once you've done exclusion and rats can't get in, it's okay to use poison outside. Remember, outside poison only after exclusion. You don't want rats eating the poison and later dying inside your home.
And all you got to do is take off the top and put the poison inside like this and put the top on and make sure you secure the top. Usually they have a screw or a wire that you can put on here. You can even use a twisty tie. And the rat can go in and out to feed, and the poison doesn't come out of the box, so that you contain the poison to the box where the rodent can go in and out to feed.
Corrugated tubing works the same way. Make a hole in each of the end caps, put the poison inside, put on the caps, and place the tube wherever you feel you're having a rat problem. Remember to check the bait every day and keep it filled. And bait can be found at many stores. All of these things are cheap and easy to do yourself, outside and inside. But if you want to use an exterminator, always ask some questions.
Ask if they exclude the rats from your house. Ask if they also come back and take the rats out of your traps and reset them. And what is the period of time that they will continue to do that?
All in hopes your rat problem stays a problem for a very short period of time. As you've seen, the County of San Diego is not an exterminator. We're simply here to offer advice on how to help you get rid of rats from your home. Remember, wild rats are not pets. They carry disease and can cause all kinds of economic damage. If you have them running around your home, you need to get rid of them permanently. For more information, visit sdvector.com. I'm Michael Russo with the County Television Network. Thank you for watching.